a little introduction to the Mercedes. Probably made 4 or 5 movies about the car, so yeah. Let's start the engine. That's about the right distance. It's not a very noisy exhaust. Actually a quiet exhaust, unlike the Mini. Mini was very loud. Not that loud. The Mini was a lot louder. Wait. The revs went down already. That means the engine's warm enough to start driving the car. Never drive your car right after you just start the engine. Let it warm up for a few seconds. That's the sound of the exhaust for the C230. Nothing special about it. It's not loud, it's just regular exhaust. I might upgrade it to a sport exhaust someday in the near future, depending on how the cash flow is, how the money flow is. I wish I had this light under my car, because I can get to see it better. I mean, film it better. Better lighting is always good. So what else can I talk about? The engine is a 6-cylinder engine, so it's a V6. So that means the engine cylinders, the pistons sit in a V format like that. If you know anything about cars. If you don't, I just gave you a little lesson. V6, so the engine has 2 banks. 3 cylinders sit on the left side and the other 3 cylinders sit on the right side. And as you saw, this car has a dual exhaust system. So I have 2 tailpipes. Displacement of the engine is 2.5 liters. So that's 2,500 cc's of displacement. When you talk about engine displacement in liters, that is the amount of liquid that the piston would displace, right? I don't know if you've ever done those science experiments in high school where you displaced water with a object or a piston and then you measured how much water was displaced. So that's how it's measured, that's how it's done. There's also cubic inches, and that's not a metric measurement. That's imperial measurement. So that's another thing you have to deal with cars, is that most German cars, the bolts are in metric sizes, and when you come to I think they're changing them now. I'm not 100% sure. American cars usually use imperial sizes, so yeah, you don't want to get both mixed up or cross-threaded. That's the word. I would open the hood, but you can't see much. You won't be able to see a whole lot of the engine here. Bada bing, bada bang. I'll show you under the hood if you're at all interested. Now, I have to find the latch because on this car, there it is. Got it. Would be embarrassing if I didn't. Unfortunately, see, you can't see a damn thing. Never mind. CPU is here. It's pretty clean. Oil goes here. Anyways, you won't be able to see anything in the video. That's all right. Leave it for next time. So I gave you a tour of the car. What else? The wheels. 18 inches, I believe. The tires are 225 on 18, and the sidewalls, what, 45? 45? 45 225 R18. So the 18, the wheels are 18 inches on the width, 225, and I think it's 45. I can't read what's written on the tire because it's so dark in here. And what else? Got the card, the Grand Bizou. So this one is has a manual transmission, as I mentioned before. 6-speed manual transmission. And I mentioned that it's a manual. Yeah, probably about 1,000,000 times. What else? The car has dynamic stability control. They call it ESP on this particular vehicle. It has a CD player. It has heated seats, of course, power windows and heated mirrors, power seats, heated seats, power steering. That's standard, right? So I shouldn't even mention that. What else? Dual climate control for the heating and the air conditioning. What else? Pretty much basic stuff, you know. The seats aren't leather, they're leatherette seats, so that's like a plastic, like a vinyl type of seat type of thing, so it's not original leather. I knew right away just by looking at it, so didn't even have to touch it. Leather wrapped steering wheel with the controls on the steering wheel for the radio, for the volume, for the phone, and all that great stuff. What else? Traction control, dynamic stability control. What else? You can turn that on and off. Has a tachometer, odometer, speedometer, temperature of the engine, which is always good to have. The Mini didn't have that. The Mini didn't have a temperature gauge. What can I say? Fuel tank, full tank, half tank, fuel gauge, temperature gauge. What else? Dome lights, map lights, moonroof, sunroof, whatever you want to call it. And the roof also tilts up and down, back and forth, like this, and like this, longitudinal. So I'm not touching the sunroof because I used it maybe once or twice since I got the car, but I'm not fiddling with the sunroof too much because sunroofs have the tendency to fail. They're expensive to repair and to replace. And also the rails for the sunroof, they have a tendency of getting debris and dirt in them, and it's a pain in the arse to clean those. So I'm just gonna leave the sunroof as is. I'm not gonna play around with it too much. Probably leave it closed for the majority of the time that I own this car. There you have the gauges. They're lit up. Fuel gauge, temperature gauge, tachometer. The red starts at 6,000 and some change, so that's where the red line starts. I don't suggest you driving this engine past 6,000 RPM on the C230. It's not a turbocharged engine. It's what we call normally aspirated engine. It's only a 2.5 liters, so it's producing about 200 and some change of horsepower, maybe 201 or 210 or whatever. I don't know what the specs are exactly for it. I have to look that up. Torque wise, I have no clue how much torque the engine's producing. Probably over 200 foot-pounds of torque. Can look that up too. I'm almost an engineer, but not quite there. I'm not an engineer, but I studied mechanics, auto mechanics, about 20 some years ago, 24, 23 years ago, whatever it is. There was a lot of math involved, especially for Ohm's law, for electricity, a lot of calculations. You don't have to be a math whiz. You didn't have to be a math whiz to take the course, but you had to know, had to have some knowledge, a little bit above average knowledge of math, of basic math anyways. So I can say that I have above average math knowledge at this stage of the game, which I don't use on a regular basis. I haven't used in many years. And that's pretty much it for now. That pretty much sums up the car itself.